You clicked on this video because you want to save 100K, and right now it feels impossible. Rent, bills, groceries, and just life are already taking everything before saving even crosses your mind. I'm gonna be straight with you from the start. One of the biggest reasons I was able to do this by 24 is because I lived at home and did not pay rent, and I'm not gonna pretend that did not matter. But I also want to show you exactly what I did with that advantage, how I built income from nothing, and how this system works even if your situation looks nothing like mine. Okay, so I want to talk about where I actually came from before we get into anything else. My family grew up middle class. We were not poor. Like, we lived in a really nice area and I had everything I needed, and I am so grateful for that. But I also watched my parents work really, really hard for it. Overtime, weekends, my dad would come home exhausted, and my mom was always thinking about money, what we could do and what we could not do. And one of the things we just never did was travel. No family trips, no vacations, because that was the trade-off they made to give us the life we had. I didn't fully understand that as a kid, but looking back, it shaped everything about how I think about money. Because I saw what it looked like to work hard your whole life and still feel like you couldn't breathe, and I just knew I did not want that. I did not want to be stuck to a computer for the rest of my life, waiting for someone to approve my time off. I did not want money to be the reason I missed my future kids' basketball game or could not be there for my parents when they actually need me. I wanted my time to be mine. And I think that's honestly what kept me going through the boring years, the no social life, the living frugal, the saying no to stuff constantly, because it was never just about the number, it was about what the number meant on the other side. 5 years of being intentional so that the rest of my life could actually feel free. That trade made complete sense to me, and it still does. The biggest advantage I had was living at home. And for context, I live with my parents like a lot of people my age right now because, well, the economy is rough. I'm lucky enough that I could move out if I really wanted to. I just don't want to. And also, I love spending time with my parents, so that's that. But if you are paying rent, do not click off. Later in the video, I am going over exactly how to budget and build a real system even when rent is already eating your paycheck. Living at home does not automatically become savings. I've seen people with zero rent, a full-time job, and still nothing saved after years. And you know exactly what they do have: a new car, a new bag, whatever is on their Instagram that week. So the advantage of living at home really means nothing if you don't actually decide what to do with it. For me, it became a strategy. When I left my corporate job, living at home gave me enough breathing room to go all in on YouTube. I could not have done that handling $2,000 to a landlord every month. But I also had to choose to be boring for 5 years. Not at every event, not buying new things every time I made a little more, not upgrading my life just because I could. And that is not usually what gets posted on social media, but that quiet discipline is what actually moved the number. So if you're in your 20s and living at home, please don't waste it. That is free time and free money most people don't have. Use it to build something, because that season will not last forever, and what you do with it will. I want to tell you my story because I did not just budget my way to $100,000. I had to go out and build income from literally nothing. At 18, I had no experience, no real resume, and I got rejected from almost every retail store I walked into. I couldn't even get a host job at a Korean barbecue restaurant, but eventually one random restaurant gave me a chance and I took it. That job felt small, but it was the first store I built for myself. It led to an unpaid marketing internship that led to a paid internship at Amazon. Amazon helped me land my first corporate job. So none of that was handed to me. I just refused to stay where I was, and I kept taking whatever the next available step was. It wasn't easy, not even a little. I was working full time, getting my MBA at 23 with a ton of debt, building side income on YouTube, and doing it all at the same time. I had basically no social life. My weekends were just work, and there were moments where it was just all exhausting. But I made peace with it because I knew what I was building towards. It became the way I made decisions. A lot of people think wealth is luck, and I get why it looks that way from the outside, but I really believe you can create your own luck when you are willing to work, learn, and keep taking the next step. But now I want to take my biggest advantage out of the equation, because if you are paying rent, your math is different. Your timeline might be different, but the system matters. So let's get into what this could look like if rent is already taking a huge part of your paycheck. Okay, let me show you what this actually looks like on paper because inspiration without numbers is just a feeling. Let's say you take home $4,200 a month and your rent is $2,000. Half your paycheck is already gone before you do anything. Then you stack utilities, groceries, transportation, your phone subscriptions, minimum debt payments on top of that, and when you add it all up, you are looking at roughly $820 left over. Now, most people let that $820 just sit in a checking account with no job. And because it has no job, it slowly disappears on stuff you can't even account for at the end of the month. Once you have that leftover money identified, here is what to actually do with it, and the order matters. The very first thing is to attack any high interest debt you have. I am talking credit card debt, anything sitting above 10% interest, because that interest is silently killing any progress you try to make. You cannot outinvest 20% interest, so kill that first. For me, the debt avalanche method makes the most sense here. Focus on the highest interest debt first, then work your way down. That saves you the most money over time and stops the worst debt from eating away at your progress. Once that's handled, start thinking about retirement contributions. If your job offers a 401k match, contribute at least enough to get the full match. That is free money and you should never leave it on the table. Then look into opening a Roth IRA. You contribute after-tax dollars now and your money grows completely tax-free. For anyone in their 20s, that is genuinely one of the best tools available to you. Then once the debt is gone and retirement is set up, that is when you start looking at investing. Index funds, mutual funds, building real wealth over time. If you want me to break down exactly how to start investing from scratch, comment invest below and I'll make that the next video. And before I move on, I want to make this really clear. The system matters more than the specific app or bank you use. You do not need the same accounts I have to start getting your money together. But I also know that when you're new to saving and investing, it helps to see what someone actually uses in real life. So let me show you the tools that helped me organize my money. Real quick before I get into this video is not sponsored, but I will leave affiliate links down below for anything I mention. So if you want to check any of these out, those links help support the channel, but genuinely, these are just the tools I personally use. All right, so once the high interest debt is handled, the next thing I focused on was getting my emergency fund set up and eventually opening retirement and investing accounts. And honestly, the setup is not complicated at all. For my emergency fund and short-term savings, I was using Marcus by Goldman Sachs. The whole reason I like keeping savings in a high yield savings account is that I need it to feel separate from my everyday money. If everything is sitting in one checking account, it all feels spendable, but the moment I move it somewhere else, mentally that money already has a job and it's not available. And Marcus actually earns real interest on top of that, which a regular bank is not doing for you. So I try to keep roughly 25 to 30% of my savings accessible as an emergency fund because life happens and I want cash I can actually get to if something comes up. For money I have saved but am not ready to put into the market yet, I look at non-penalty CDs. It's that middle ground, better rate than a regular savings account, but I can still access it if I need to. If you're not fully comfortable with investing yet, that is a really solid next step. Then for retirement and investing, I use Fidelity. That is where my Roth IRA lives and where I manage everything investment related. I keep it simple because the fewer platforms I'm juggling, the more organized I actually stay. So my whole setup is really just three things. One place for spending, one place for saving, and one place for investing. You don't need 10 apps. You just need a system that makes it harder to spend money accidentally and easier to move it where it actually needs to go. I will leave links for Marcus and Fidelity down below if you want to check them out. Budgeting alone did not get me to 100K. Income mattered, building skills over time mattered, and eventually building multiple streams of income, not just one paycheck, is what actually changed everything. I went from being rejected at every store in a mall to eventually building real income for myself, working full-time, doing side hustles, getting my MBA, all at the same time. And that was not luck. It was because I did not settle where I was and I kept trying new things even when I did not know exactly where they were going. So if you're working a restaurant or a retail job right now, I'm not telling you to burn yourself out, but sit with this honestly. What do you already do well that someone would pay for? Because everyone has something. Sales, recruiting, bookkeeping, editing, social media, even being great with people or really organized is a skill that translates into real income. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You just have to look at what you already offer and find a way to expand it into something that earns beyond your main job. The goal is to eventually stop trading every single hour for every single dollar. And you get there by stacking income streams intentionally, starting with one, then building the next, and letting each one carry a little more weight over time. But here's the thing, multiple income streams means nothing if the daily habits are not there underneath all of it. The automating, the not spending every dollar the second it comes in, the consistency, that is what actually holds everything together. I already made a full video on the 8 money habits that were quietly keeping me broke before I figured any of this out. So watch that next. It is the foundation for everything I just talked about in this video. I will link it down below. The first 100K was not magic. It was math, habits, income, patience, and being as intentional as possible with the advantages that I had. And I know everyone's situation looks different. If you have medical bills, if you are supporting family, if you are paying rent, if you are starting from zero, your timeline is going to look different than mine. That is real, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. But different does not mean impossible. What I want you to stop doing is comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10, because the person you are comparing yourself to started somewhere as well. And the one thing that separates people who build wealth from people who stay stuck is not income. It's not privilege, it's not luck, it's just starting. Even one step from this video is enough to begin. We all say we can't save, but what if you took that 1 hour you spend watching TV tonight and put it towards learning one thing that moves your income forward? That's not a sacrifice, that's a trade, and those small trades stack. So here's what I want to leave you with. Know your numbers, stop avoiding them, lower the expenses that trap you, and build the income and habits that give you more options. And every single time life gives you a little more money, do not immediately upgrade your life to match it. For me, this was never about a number to show anyone. It was about breathing room. It was about knowing one bad month would not destroy me. It was about peace, and it was about having choices. If you feel behind right now, you don't need it all figured out today. You just need to be honest with yourself today, because your finances will be exactly as organized as you decide to make them. Before I go, quick disclaimer, nothing in this video is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just someone in my 20s sharing what personally worked for me, what I learned along the way, and what I would do if I were starting over. Always do your own research and make decisions that actually fit your life. If you're in your 20s right now and you're feeling lost with money, that is okay. We did not learn this stuff in school, and most of us did not learn it at home either. You are not behind. You are just figuring it out, and the fact that you watched this entire video tells me you actually care about changing things. If you want to keep learning alongside me, subscribe. Every Sunday, I post a new video around saving, investing, building income, and just being smarter with money in your 20s. I'm Erin. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, we can only go up from here.